Welcome, YouTube family, and welcome to another edition of the Kevin Strong Show. And in this video, we're going to talk about identity theft. Yep, they got you, boy. Yours truly, they got me. So we're going to talk about identity theft, what happened to me, kind of go into some of the things, how to prevent identity theft, some measures you can do to kind of basically find out if your information has been compromised on the web, and obviously some recommended tips that I can share with you so you don't become a victim of identity theft, or at least reduce the possibility of you becoming a victim of identity theft, because no one can assure you with 100% certainty that it won't happen to you. So without further ado, let's get into my personal story. Then we're going to jump into an article that talks about identity theft, and I'm going to wrap it up with some recommendations and some tips based on my experience. So as I said at the beginning, yep, it happened to me. I've been dealing with, debt management, debt consulting, credit, you name it, since 2006. That's the company Strong, Jacobs and Associates. So I'm well versed, but it happens to the best of us. So what happened to me is I have a PayPal account, a business PayPal account with my primary company. And they established some type of credit with PayPal. I forgot the acronym. It's like SBYNC, something like that. And it opened up as a new account. And I was like, wait a minute. I initially thought, well, what the hell's going on? Did PayPal just issue me a line of credit? Which was kind of weird at first. So I didn't pay that much attention to it, as they say in football. And what happened was that they established a line. I don't know exactly what it was. And then I called PayPal a couple of days later because I started getting these alerts that I've opened up a new account. And that's what brought it to my attention. So when I called PayPal to find out what was going on, they're like, hey, Mr. Strong, did you open up this account? I'm like, absolutely not. It was about $500 worth of charges. So they clearly said, okay, we'll go ahead and take care of that. We're going to start a fraud investigation. You know how it goes. They're going to send you out or send me out some paperwork that I may have to fill out. So look out for it in the mail within the next, 5 to 7 business days. Didn't really think too much of that. And then about a couple of days later after that, I got another alert. I think it was from Experian. It was one of the 3 major credit bureaus that said, hey, Kevin, an inactive card has been used. So now I'm really getting concerned at this point. So I go to look at my credit information, and someone had charged $550 on my credit card, but it was the City of Memphis Credit Union. I've had this card since like around 2011, 2012. So I haven't charged on this card in over 10 years. And all of a sudden, a $550 charge appeared. I discovered that a week ago today, ironically. So I called the number on the back of the card, spoke to the guy. He immediately figured it out. So, yep, this is definitely something going on, because he was able to ascertain that the origin of the purchase came from somewhere like in Norway or something like that, like something with dishes or something. And they got for $550. So he goes, yeah, we'll go ahead and take care of that right away. So then I got concerned. So I had to cancel all of my cards on the personal side and the business side. Okay. And then I went into my main checking account that's with the City of Memphis. Ironically, the reason why I have it down there, even though I'm in Washington, is because the City of Memphis Credit Union was rated one of the top safest 200 credit unions in the United States. I am a big component about keeping it small and keeping it all, not in regards to my bank account, but sometimes those smaller credit unions that don't do a lot of crazy lending and stuff, they're less likely to be victims of a bail-in or something a little bit more catastrophic. But I'll leave that topic for another video. So I was able to go online. Nothing was taken out of my account. I'm not going to get too personal with the amount. Like I said, it was roughly $1,100, $550 on my Memphis Credit Union and $550 at PayPal. But just on my personal credit, my consumer credit alone, it's over 6 digits. And I'm not saying that to brag, but I'm saying that to say that's the potential right? If you don't actively look at this stuff and you find out after the fact, some of these people out here can do a lot of damage. So sorry about that. I see we're already 5 minutes into this video. So I'm going to switch over now and jump into this article that talks about identity theft. So here we go. Identity theft. What is it? How to prevent it? Warning signs and tips. So let's jump right into this article. What is identity theft? Identity theft happens when someone uses your sensitive data to pose as you or steal from you. Identity thieves may drain your bank and investment accounts, open new lines of credit, get utility service, steal your tax refund, use your insurance information to get medical treatment, or give police your name and address when they are arrested. I've seen this happen down south. Let's just say within the first responders community, you know, and somebody says, well, what the hell? I don't have any warrants. Somebody can clone all kind of information. So it's very important that you stay up on this stuff. So 7 types of identity theft and warning signs. The first one we're going to talk about is credit identity theft. Credit identity theft happens when a criminal uses your personal information, such as your birth date, social security number, to apply for a new line of credit. That apparently is what happened to me regarding PayPal, which I'm kind of a little curious as to how they were able to do that. But once again, well above my pay grade. As it shows here, the warning signs is you might see an unexpected charge. That's what happened to me, or in your credit score, or an account you don't recognize on your credit report. And that's what happened to me. You may get debt collection notices or a court judgment against you. So this is something that has to happen way down the line if you're not actively monitoring your credit information, because at that point, somebody's opened up an account, they've compromised your information, they're charging on it, they're not making the payments, late notices are going out. So make sure, right? Make sure that you're getting your monthly statements in a timely fashion. I know people don't like to get bills, but in this case, it's kind of like a prevention tactic to make sure that, hey, you know, my American Express typically gives me my bill on the 13th of every month or whatever, and I haven't gotten it, it's the 20th. You should call about that, because somebody could have compromised your information or changed your address of record. Child identity theft, I don't see that happening too often, but basically that talks about, you know, using somebody that's a minor and using their information to establish credit. Synthetic identity theft is when criminals use a patchwork of identity details to construct too much. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. We're going to skip that one. But basically, once again, is when criminals use a patchwork of identity details to construct a fictitious consumer using a number, often one of a taxpayer identity theft. And they talk about this. Obviously, you know, you heard these horror stories where people have their tax refunds taken. They talk about the warning signs. This is something that I do know quite well. It hasn't happened to me, but I've had some clients that this has happened to. Basically, the earlier you file, the less likely you are to be a victim of identity theft as it relates to your tax return. Filing early can help you beat criminals to filing in your name. And some states offer 6-digit identity protection pins after a rigorous verification with additional security. So you might want to consider looking into that. Medical identity theft, once again, compromising your information to get healthcare services and then have you pay for the bill at a later time. Account takeover. Now, this is really, really scary. Criminals use personal data to access your financial accounts, then change passwords or addresses so that you no longer have access. And that's why I said earlier in the video, folks, it's imperative that you know when your bills are due, when you're supposed to get your statements, and don't just be in a reactive mode saying, oh, I guess I'll just pay it when I get it. Know when it's due. Know when you're supposed to receive the statement. And if you don't get the statement in a timely fashion, whether you're paperless and you're getting it by way of email or you're getting it conventionally in the mail, have some general idea of when you're supposed to receive that information. It's not very hard. You can set that up on a spreadsheet in terms of the accounts that you have, the due date and things of that nature. So you can make a mental note to look out for that kind of stuff. And I already talked about criminal identity theft, about somebody's using your information after they've been detained by law enforcement and passing themselves off as you only to find out after the fact when you get stopped for something, you're being charged for something that you have absolutely nothing to do with. So here we go. We're going to talk about ways to prevent identity theft. Freeze your credit. So I'm going to talk about this for a brief moment. Listen to me, folks. You should have your account Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. All three major credit bureaus right here. You can set up an account, go on their website, freeze your credit. If you're not actively getting ready to apply for something that requires a credit inquiry on your credit report, there's no reason to have your credit file open. Freeze it. Not only will that be an extra layer of protection to prevent you from being a victim of identity theft, it'll also cut down on all of that pre-screening mail that you get that's offering you credit card incentives. Safeguard your social security number. I think that goes without saying. Be very careful and wise where you disclose that information. Obviously, everybody's heard about be on alert for phishing and spoofing. Don't click on unknown emails or something that comes off as Amazon or a Wells Fargo bank account has been compromised. Never respond to a phone number that's included in an email. Call the institution by looking at the information that you have on file or going to their general website. Use a strong password, no pun intended, and add an authentication two-step process. I know it's a pain, and you know what? Even me and Mr. Hamilton talked about that. I have a lot of that set up, but as I said, they got you, boy. Use alerts. This is a good one. I have alerts set up all the time. Anytime you have any type of debit or credit transaction, have that sent by way of email and text message. Because once again, your email can be hacked. You can be blocked out of your email, but it's hard to block you out of your email and your phone number. Watch your mailbox. Obviously, people do it the old-fashioned way. They go into mailboxes and they steal all kind of stuff, and they're able to produce fraudulent information by basically stealing your mail. Shred all of your information and use a digital wallet. For those of you who are not familiar with this, I'll just go ahead and read it to you. If you're planning online or in the store, use a digital wallet, an app containing secure digital versions of a credit and debit cards. You can use it to shop online or at a compatible checkout. And you've got a lot of those ones where you can just touch it, the touchless, get in the habit of doing that. Don't ever use your debit card at a gas station. There's some skimming that has gone on at gas stations. Use a credit card because you have a lot more protection as from a consumer standpoint. If your information is compromised on your credit card, that debit card is traditionally tied directly to your savings or your checking account, and it could be an uphill battle if they get access to that. Protect your mobile devices. I think that goes without saying. Go directly to the source. Or if you have a banking app or something like that, just go directly to the banking app. Don't go through some other portal to access some personal information. Check your credit report regularly. I think it should be checked monthly. And I know that may sound a little excessive, but I think you should look at your credit report at least, I'd say 2 months, but I say quarterly at the latest. If you have all those measures in place, like alerts and you have credit monitoring, things like that, then just make sure, like I said, when your bills are due and look out for the warning signs. Monitor financial and medical statements. This goes without saying. Make sure you recognize every transaction, know due dates, and call to investigate if you do not receive an expected bill. See, this is what I'm talking about. Most of us in the habit of like, hey, I don't want to pay that shit. So I'll just wait for them to reach out and call me or contact me. Then I know the bill's due. Know when you are supposed to make your payment and know when your creditor is supposed to notify you about said payment. Okay, so that's going to be it about from that standpoint. I've got a couple other things I kind of want to talk about. There's something called a VPN. It's kind of like a virtual private network. I have that on my home computer here. And it basically makes you anonymous when you're doing things on the web, and it secures your passwords and your sensitive information. I encourage you to get that. I use a VPN. I'm not going to give any recommendations. You can do your own research to figure out which one is good for you. And you can also get these VPN type setups on your smartphones, whether you're on an Android or an iPhone platform. I talked about credit freezes. Normally, when you do a credit freeze, it's typically in place for a year. So you have to remind yourself. Once again, you might want to put this same information or a renewal note on that same spreadsheet where you have all your due dates for your bills. So when that renew comes up, you can go back into Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion and renew that credit freeze. Once again, if you're not actively or in the immediate future getting ready to apply for credit, don't leave your credit profile open. Have it locked up by way of a credit freeze. Something else that I do, whether it's a debit or credit, make sure, like I have a Fidelity investment credit card with them or whatever, and they allow me to do a credit or debit, anything over $1. I get a text message. Every time there's a transaction, I get a text message. If you have that type of ability with your financial institutions or whatever credit cards or debit institutions that you work with, make sure you set all that stuff up. I know it can be a pain in the butt, but trust me, I think I got off relatively lucky because it could have been a lot more expensive and painful on my end. And Credit Karma, Credit Karma is a great service for credit monitoring. They kind of give you some tips in terms of giving you alerts on credit activity. Please don't rely on the scores in Credit Karma. They're not pulling from the same algorithms as the major credit bureaus. So Credit Karma is basically used for credit monitoring, not for credit scoring. They're not even remotely close at times. Sometimes you think you could go to Credit Karma and think you got a 790 and you pull your score and you got a 730. I mean, it's all over the place. Sometimes they overinflate or underreport what your actual FICO score is. So if you want to get an actual copy of your credit report, you can go to go to myfico.com or just go to Experian, TransUnion, or Equifax directly. You can not only pull your credit report from that bureau, but most of them have the option to pull from all three and give you a FICO score. And for those who don't know what a FICO score is, they're going to pull your TransUnion, your Equifax, and your Experian. They throw out the high and they throw out the low, and that middle score, that medium score, is what determines your FICO. So this was a little bit longer video. Like I say, they got you, boy. But like I said, luckily it was a PayPal account that they took care of, and then a credit card for $550 that they immediately blocked. But I had to get a whole lot of cards and set up auto pay, and I have to do all of this stuff all over again. So once again, lesson learned, but because I was proactive, I was able to see this before it really spiraled out of control. If you are enjoying this type of content, please do me the honor. Don't forget, just hit that like button, comment, and share because I care. Plus, help a brother out. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found this practical information, and I hope you found some tips within the video to make sure you're not a victim of identity theft. And I'm going to close with this. You know my motto: keep your credit score up and keep your debt down. This was the Kevin Strong Show, and I'll see you guys in the next video.